before we get started on this project, I just wanted to walk you guys through the problem statement. So this is a make-believe scenario for our project where Mike Tomlin, the head coach of Steelers, had asked us as a data analyst in the team to make a dashboard with all the QB stats of all the college QBs for 2021 statistics. And he will then use this dashboard to make the 2022 draft pick to replace the current quarterback, whose name is Ben Roethlisberger, who is also known as Big Ben. Now, before we even get started, I just wanted to make sure I'm not offending any Steelers fan. Big Ben is actually a pretty great player in his own right. He's went to Super Bowl about 3 times and won 2 of them. And in 2006, he actually was the first, or actually the youngest quarterback to win Super Bowl. So we're not taking anything away from him. It's just for this make-believe scenario. Also, in recent months, he's also being challenged in terms of his performance, and there's rumors that he might be replaced very soon. So with that in mind, I just wanted to do a kind of out of my own curiosity, if Steelers were to pick a quarterback, who would it be from the college? So that's what kind of like drove me into this project. And also I wanted to kind of go through some of the pandas functions that we do have available and wanted to show you guys in action. So with that being said, let's get started with our project. I wanted to show you guys where I got all the data from. All the data that I'm using came from this website called Sport Reference. And if you go into their homepage, you can actually get all sorts of football related news. And this is where a lot of the time, if I'm trying to make sure or check out any of the quarterbacks or any other players, how they're doing in this season or any other seasons, I come here, where you can just pick any college you want. You can also pick what you want in terms, like for example, 2021 splits, 2022 stats, whatever you would like. But by default, these are the top 10 football teams, college football teams, based on 2021 criteria. And then you can click any one of those, and then go ahead and check out the quarterbacks, passing stats, and then you have the rushing and receiving stats, defense stats. But for our project, we're going to be looking at only the passing and then the rushing and receiving for our quarterbacks. And then I compile all of these data for top 10 universities, and then I have compiled them and put them in here. I just wanted to kind of quickly show you guys what the data table looks like, and then the rushing like that. And then we're going to be pulling them through the pandas and do the ETL process, and eventually create a data table that we'll be able to use within the Tableau and then generate our visualizations. Okay, let's get started. So here, the first things first, we're going to be importing some NumPy, and then we're going to assign an alias. A lot of the people, it's kind of community practice to call NumPy as np import. We're going to be calling the pandas as pd, import matplotlib, pyplot as plt. Actually, I won't be using the matplotlib on this as much, but I'm still kind of like importing it just in case I decide to do something. And then we're going to be naming our first data frame QB stats equal, and then you're going to be we're going to be using our first function, which is the read Excel. Pretty easy to remember, this one. And then you're going to be putting R. It's a good practice to put this R whenever you're putting any of the characters that you don't want pandas to get confused about. And file paths often has those backslashes that confuses Python. So it's a good thing to put that R in front of it. And then we're going to close it. And another argument that you can put on here is the sheet name. And sheet name would be, for us, I believe it's the QB Stats 2021. Let's put that on there, QB Stats 2021. And that's it. And we're gonna also QB Stats 2020. 2020. So we're gonna have two data frames, and then let's do that. And then we're gonna change the sheet name to 2020. I believe that's the only difference between the two names. Yep. And then I'm gonna show you guys what the data frame looks like. And to do that, I'm gonna call this. And then on this function head, you can actually put any number of rows that you want to see, like 10, 20, whatever you want. But if you don't put anything, by default, it will show you about 5 top rows, basically. Okay, let's take a look at what happened here. Worksheet, that doesn't exist. Let's take a look at the name. Okay, so that's where I went wrong. Nothing major here. And then probably did the same thing for the other one as well. So let's take a look at that. I'm just copying the sheet name as is. There you go. First, and then we're going to be showing you guys the shape of each of these tables. So to do that, data frame state stats dot shape, and then we're also going to show you QB dot stats 2020 shape. Okay, and then we're gonna put this one here, and then you can see both of them has the same number of rows and same number of column. Is that true? Let's check it out. So we have about 32 on this, and then we should have 24. Okay, let's take a look at that, why we're not getting the right. Okay, all right, let's do run again above, and then 32, 24. There you go. So 32 rows and 11 columns. So that's what we've been expecting. And then we're gonna move on to adding, because eventually we would like to add or append this table to that table. So we have both 2020 data and 2021 data on the same data frame. So before we even do that, we want to have like a flag column. So that way we can, whenever we want to filter out 2020 data from 2021, we still have the capability to do so. So for that, we're going to be creating another column, and we're going to be calling that QB stats indicator, and then I want that to have the data of 2021, value of 2021, and same thing for actually underscore 2020, and same column name, because I want them to be on the same column, just different values. And when I have that, I want you guys to also see what it's creating. So head, and now you can see that column has added. We're gonna go ahead and now append the two columns using the append function, QB underscore stats equal. So once you append, this is the data frame that I want that new data frame to be named. You can have different, so you can have 3 data frames. This is the new, and then the 2 others. But for simplicity's sake, I want my things to be combined into the same one. So stats dot append, and then you're gonna say which table you would like to be added basically, and then ignore index equal true. So basically what this index true does here is, if you don't write this, what it does is it keeps the index for each of those data frame as it is. So you're going to have two sets of 0 to 32 and 0 to 24, but I don't want that. I want the new table to have its own data frame or indexing. So when you put that ignore index true, that's what it does. It generates new indexes for your new table. Appending to data frame. And it's also a good practice to, make note on the side what you're doing. So in the future, you can come back and take a look at what's going on. Okay, let's take a look. Invalid text index. Oh. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show you guys here, 32 rows, 24 rows. When you add them up, 56, this is what you're seeing. And this, now it was 11, now it's 12, just because we added another column here, indicator column. And then we're gonna move on to, we're gonna be moving on to renaming some names. For example, here it says U, RK, player, G. These are not very clear to understand. I want my end users to be able to understand what they're saying. So we're going to do some rename function and then rename some of those columns. Okay, to do that, we're going to be doing this qb underscore stats dot rename, and then column. You're going to have to say which column you're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing multiple columns. So we're going to have U, and that's the current name, and and you write on the right what you want it to say. University, and then underscore name, and then comma, RK, and then obviously you want it to say depth chart. And then you're going to have to say player. You're going to call it we're going to actually call it QB name. And lastly, G, we're going to call it games played. All right, that's about it. And then we're gonna show you guys the name of it. Okay, what happened here? Rename. Oh, there you go. Okay, so here you can see now U is university, RK is depth chart, player name is QB, and then games played. Once we have that, we're gonna move on to fixing some of these names that we do have, because it says Bryce Young and then Bryce Young again, but we want only the first half of this portion. So to do that, we're gonna be actually using this delimiter backslash, and then when you do that, it's gonna create two new columns. So you're gonna have to name those new two columns. This is how we're gonna do that. Stats, and then we're gonna name QB underscore name. That's going to be our one column, and then we're going to have the reject, just because I'm going to be rejecting it later on. That's what I'm calling it. And then QB. So now you're writing whatever the current name is. So this, even though they both match here, this has to match with your already existing name. So this one I could have written anything I wanted, QB name, QB new name, whatever, but this has to match with whatever you already have in your data frame. So QB name, and then we're going to use the split function. And then one thing I wanted you guys to know here, so first argument is the character you want the split to happen, which is in our case this. But one thing to note in case of this backslash is that if you won't put this once, for some reason, you know, it just doesn't recognize it. Python gets confused just because they have other syntax using that. So if it was just comma, you would just put one comma. But in case of this, you're gonna put either two of these or you're gonna put an R in front of it. But in our case, we're gonna just put two of these over here. And then expand is equal true, letting the data frame expand, and then maybe add splitting the QB name column. And then we're gonna say QB underscore stats dot head. And then now you can see the names are nicely split, and then the portion that I don't want is now being called a reject. And then we're going to drop this column. We're going to drop this column. Stats equal, actually drop, and then I'm going to say reject. And we're going to say whether it's a column or row. 1 signifies it's a column, in place equal true. And then again, I'm going to show you what it looks like. As you can see, it got rid of this column. And once we have all of that, we would like to now add some calculated columns. So first, calculated column, I want to see the passing completion rate, basically how many passes they completed versus how many passes they have attempted. And then the other one is called the passer rating. I'm gonna walk you guys through that, the calculation or the equation that I'm gonna be, formula that I'm gonna be using. Well, let's get started with the easy one, which is the percentage, completions percentage. And then you're gonna have to name the new column completion percent, and then you're gonna say QB, let's start there, QB, and then passing CMP, that's basically this column right there, and then stats, and then you're gonna say divide by QB stats, and then the column name, which is the passing ATT. And when you do that, I want to show you guys, I want to walk you guys through step by step. Stats head, and as you can see, it is calculating, but we would like it to show as a percentage point. Okay, hold on. Okay, and then if I do this, now you can see they're looking like a percentage, but it still has more decimal places than we would like. Then, much like Excel, you're going to be using a round function, and then you're going to say how many decimal points you would like at the end, and then run it again. And now it's exactly what you want it. Okay, for the second calculated column, we're going to be doing the passer rating. So I'm going to do this and then declare our column name, passer underscore rating. And then I'm going to show you the formula that NFL Actually, NFL uses slightly different formula for this than the college football, and the college football formula is comprised of 4 YDS, TDP, which are all written down here, which is the passing yards, and then you have touchdown passes, pass completion, and then the interception affects it negatively, and then obviously divided by the total pass attempt. So we're going to try to replicate this. Let's just do this. Okay, I'm going to just do this. Okay, so we're going to be saying QB stats. And then we're going to say passing yards, YDS, times 8.4 plus QB stats, comma, and then passing touchdown, and then times 330 plus QB underscore stats, and then we're gonna say passing CMP, and that's gonna be times by 100, and then subtract your 205 times QB underscore stats, and then the column name would be here the passing INT here, and then we're going to be dividing it by QB stats, column name, passing attempt. Okay, let's see if we got all the parentheses right. Okay, and then okay, all right, let's see what we got here. Right, there you go. Okay, the calculation is done. However, we do have a little bit more decimal points than we would have liked, and we're going to apply that round function again that we've shown you earlier. Go all the way at the end, comma, however many decimal points you would like, and that's about it. Now you can see we only have 1 decimal points there. All right, now we're going to go ahead and try to, we're going to try to put this pass completion percentage, the calculated column, right after passing completions and passing attempt right here. But before we're going to go ahead and do that, we're going to have to figure out the column index of this column. Now here you can actually just do a hand count and then figure it out. But we're going to show you the function way, how to figure that out using function, because in most cases, if your database is actually really wide, you won't be able to do it, or it's going to be too tedious to do. So the best way to do this is just using your function qbstats dot columns dot get location, and then you're going to say the column names, pass completion %, and then And then right away it tells you 12. And then we would also like to figure out the column index for this one, so we know which one to put this column in front of. So let's copy and paste. And then we're going to say passing yards. All right, now we have the two number that we were going to need to apply to the column shift function. So we're going to do column underscore titles and make a list out of our column names. And I want to show you guys what it looks like. Column underscore titles. Basically just a list. And then we're gonna go ahead and new columns, or just calls for short, and then column titles. And here is where we're gonna do a little bit of mix and match. So the colon is basically saying from the beginning of this list to 6, but not including 6. Basically, it's going to start here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to take all of this. So from here to here, that's all this thing means right here. And then you're going to do the column name, column underscore titles, and then we're going to say -2, and that's basically referring to this, basically from the end, -1, -2, and then so basically this is going right after this right here. And then we're going to say column underscore titles, and then from here, which is the 6, because now 6 is going to be inclusive if you put it on the left side of the colon, to -2. Again, this is exclusive, so from 6 all the way up to here. And then you're going to say column underscore titles -1 to everything basically, and then QB underscore steps. Now we're going to reapply the column names, newly created column names, back to our data frame, new calls, and then I'm going to just show you guys what it looks like. There you go. So now, as you can see, this pass completion percent came right after the completions and attempted, just like we would have liked. So he completes about 70% of the passes he throws. And then once we have that, we're going to go ahead and bring in the rushing stats. So for that, we're going to be reading the Excel file again. Hold on, let me copy this and then I'll show you what I mean. So we are trying to copy there. So we're trying to copy this table now back to our data frame. Okay, so it's going to be, sorry, So we're going to change the sheet name. We're also going to change the data frame name, rushing stats, and then rushing underscore stats dot head, so you guys can see. Okay, so this is what it is. And now for quarterbacks, we really don't want to show some of the scrimmage yards, scrimmage plays, and so on and so forth. We would only want to see up to the rushing touchdown. And we're going to have to cut it out. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to ignore all the other columns. And for this, we're going to be using the location function, iLocation, integer location. So rushing stats equal rushing underscore stats, and then iLook. And then it's going to have two arguments. The first one is the row. So we're going to say we're going to take all the rows that we want, or that we have in the data frame. And then for the columns, we're only going to take up to 7, but not including 7. So iLook function is actually, whenever you do use this is exclusive. But if you're using just the location function, just remember that this is actually inclusive. So from 0 to 7, including 7. But iLook works a little bit differently compared to that. And then let's go ahead and output that so we can see. There you go. As you can see, it's up to here. Everything else is gone. And we're going to go ahead and rename. Actually, before we rename, we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of the column names. So because we already have the university names and the games played, we would want to just get rid of those. We don't need those columns. We already have that information. So rushing underscore stats dot crop, and then we're going to call the university, and then we're going to go ahead and also call the column G, and then we're going to say it's a column, so 1, and then in place equal true, and then we're going to say again, I keep on showing you guys this so we know exactly what we're doing in each step. So as you can see, the university and the G column is gone now. Now, just like before, we want to split this name, so we only have this and get rid of the other one. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and just copy what I already did, which is right. Oh, it's right here. Stats, and then we're going to call it player name, reject, and then string stats, and then this is going to be player. And then when you create this, it's basically saying creating 2 new columns for you. And I'm gonna go into the same one and get rid of that column. And for that, we're gonna just call the column name, which is going to be the reject. And then I want to show you guys stats.head. There you go. Hold on just a second here. Player name, reject, and then player this way. Actually, let's get rid of this as well. There you go. Now we have this and that. So now if you want to put this one in front of this one, we can go ahead and replicate this, what we've done here. Column titles. And then you're going to say it's from 0 to 1. Go. Now this is on this side. I probably should just say that. There you go. So now it's exactly how we want it to be, and now we're going to be merging this or joining this data frame with our previous QB-stats database data frame. To do that, we're going to be doing QB-stats again. Just want to keep the name as before, and then we're going to do merge function, and here you're just going to say the table name 1 and then table name 2. And then we're going to say left on. Basically here what you're saying is which column on this one that you want to match with this side of the column. So left, you're going to go ahead and say QB name, and on the right, which is this, is going to be the similar to player underscore name. And then we're going to declare how we would like to join it. So we're going to say left. Okay, and then again QB underscore stats dot head. Okay, I forgot this. There you go. So now, as you can see, it's already merged on the side, and we have QB name, and then we have that as well. Now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and write this into another Excel file so we can then export or import those new data frame into our Tableau and generate all our visualization and dashboard so we could submit to the head coach. All right, to do this, we're going to be using the pandas formula that is called the Excel writer. So writer equal pd.excel writer, and then we're going to go ahead and say, let's take a look at this name. Something similar to this one. Okay, there you go. And feel free to change it how you want it. Tableau. And then close it. Engine. Writer. And then QB stats to Excel writer sheet underscore name equal QB stats combined. All right, we just put the sheet name on there, and then go ahead and writer.save. All right, let's run it. Go. I think that should work. All right, so everything ran properly. Now we should have a file named Tableau. There it is, it's created. Let me show you guys how it looks like. All right, so we have the index column and basically all the football player name. And one of the things I wanted to show you guys is the indicator. So as you can see, we have 2021 for all the 2021 data frame, and then also 2022 flag for all the data that came from the 2020 table. And then these are the columns that came from that rushing stats table. Now we're going to be exporting this or importing this into our Tableau public, and then we're going to be generating all our visualizations. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how the visualization look like. All right, so I imported all the data from that data frame into Tableau. I'm not gonna go through how to create all of this visualization on this video, but I'm gonna quickly show you guys how I imported the data. So you can actually import Microsoft Excel, text file, JSON file, however you like. Very many different ways of doing it, but since our data is Excel, I use this one. And then once the data is in here, I created my visualizations, and then finally created this dashboard where I can quickly take a look at the name of the player, the number of games that they played, and then the college they're from. And on the left hand side of this butterfly chart, you can see the passing yards per game for each of these players. So for example, CJ Stroud throws about 340 yards per game this year in 2021. And then on the right side, you're going to be seeing the passer rating for them. So 125 for CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young about 104, so on and so forth. And then on here, I tried to show you guys the passing attempt versus the completed passing that each of the players do. So the green shows you how many passes they've completed, which is about 70% for Bryce Young, and then 197 is the total number of passes that he attempted this year in 2021, so on and so forth. And then on this plot, I tried to show you guys how many total touchdown passes each of these quarterbacks threw. For example, CJ Stroud threw about 18 touchdown passes this year. And another recently became very popular metrics for quarterbacks, especially if you want dual threat play style in your team, is the rushing capability of your quarterback. We are seeing people like Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and then also people like Cam Newton. They had a lot of dual threat ability, and makes it really difficult for the opponent's defense team to play against them. So I wanted to quickly show the rushing capability of these quarterbacks as well. For example, if we click on Caleb from Oklahoma, you can see that he has about 17 rushing yards per game this year. And he's a freshman, so he has a lot of room to grow. But in a nutshell, this is basically that we're going to be delivering to our head coach so he can make his 2022 draft decision making. Hope you guys learned something from this. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the next video.